Time for another edition of the Penn State Blitz here on PennLIve. Happy Super Bowl week to everyone. Yes. Happy Super Bowl week to you Eagles fan, Greg Pickel.
Good time.
We'll be talking about the Super Bowl a little bit. There's a little Penn State presence there later in the Blitz. Got 4 downs to get to, but we got to start with finally.
Yes.
We think, Greg. We think Penn State coach James Franklin has finished off his 2018 coaching staff.
Right.
With Josh Gaddis leaving for Alabama late in the game, he was left a little bit short-handed, but he didn't wait long, and he turned, I believe, to the state of Florida to get his 10th and final assistant coach.
Yeah, it worked out really well late last week. Ja'Juan Seider, the former running backs and tight ends coach at Florida, decided to leave the Gators because he was reassigned from running backs to tight ends. I believe that was because Dan Mullen wanted to bring in one of his own guys. That's generally how this, these early in coaching tenure things tend to work. So he was reassigned. He didn't want to be reassigned. He's coached running backs at the high school level, at Marshall, at West Virginia, at Florida. Comes from deep roots in Florida as a high school coach. He was a quarterback in college, so he's coached and played multiple positions. Yeah. And he recruits as among the best in the country. I think it was the first time James Franklin has mentioned guys recruiting past in a staff announcement. Usually it's about the family and the coaching and all that, but he made a point to note that Ja'Juan Seider is also known nationally for his recruiting ability. That wasn't a mistake. That wasn't by accident. This guy, Bob, has been known to get guys from all over the country, but especially Florida. Lions are going to try and bring some southern speed north. They've been able to do that a little bit. They're going to try and do it in bulk now.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to get to is how important was it that Penn State had a guy like David Corley on the staff that allowed James maybe the flexibility to rearrange things on the offensive side?
Yeah, no, and it could have worked out poorly. I mean, obviously he could have found a guy that maybe wasn't able to move, and then what do? You want Seider, but he wants to coach running backs. Maybe James Franklin hired a running backs coach that couldn't move, and then what do? You're kind of stuck. So Corley's a good example though of what you look for if you're hiring from the William and Marys and the Armies of the world, guys that can recruit well, have a background in a number of different positions, and if you need to make an adjustment, you can. And he was able to. Quarterback also in college, coach running back, coach receivers. At I think every previous stop, he's had that experience in some way, shape, or form. Bob, this is the staff on offense now. Do you look? Ricky Ronnie's coached quarterbacks and tight ends. Tyler Bowen previously coached offensive line. Now he coaches tight ends. David Corley's coached all 3, and Ja'Juan Seider's at some level has coached or played all 3. So they can move these guys around for a long time if they need to down the road. Yeah,
so David Corley joined Penn State staff before Ja'Juan Seider did. He was originally supposed to be the running backs coach from Army. Comes here replacing
good old Charles
Huff, who went to Mississippi State. I had a little blank there. I get that a lot as I get older. And so, but now, they want to bring Seider in, but so that allows them. Corley goes to coach the wideouts, take Gaddis' spot, and now Seider can move in and coach the running backs. Should be one big happy family for 2018.
And done moving around, hopefully.
It'll be interesting to see, though, if they can increase maybe their success rate in the southern states with the addition of a guy that is touted as a recruiter. We all know that James Franklin, that's really recruiting first. He can say whatever he wants, but it's all about the talent acquisition, and he's very good at it. So we'll see how that goes.
One more point for loyal Blitz watchers: first coaching hire not made before Friday happy hour. Brought that up last week that it was probably going to come Friday. It came Thursday. So people that watch the show regularly know that.
It's just amazing how much Penn State news comes on Fridays at like 5:03. It's you just think that if you didn't know any better, you would think James Franklin's messing with us.
But he bucks the trend here.
We're not going to take it personally. Let's get to second down, and the Senior Bowl is in the books. Penn State had 4 players with the late addition of Deshaun Hamilton to the Senior Bowl involved in the practices and in the games. Christian Campbell, who by all accounts did very well at practices, actually didn't play in the game. I think it was a maintenance preventive issue. I don't know if he had tweaked something, but he didn't play in the game. Marcus Allen was down there. Mike Gesicki was down there. It looks like they all of them kind of acquitted themselves pretty well, but I think I didn't have my money wasn't on Christian Campbell as being one of the standouts in the game. It says a lot for what he can do at the next level, because he's a big corner who can run.
Yeah.
But I think fans thought they would hear a lot about Gesicki, and he did play in the game, but it was Christian Campbell that really, I think, impressed some people down there.
Yeah, the Pro Football Focus Defensive Back of the Week, a guy that seemed to be turning heads at every point. When they televised the practices, you usually hear mostly about the quarterbacks, and we did hear a lot about Josh Allen and all the other guys down there. But Bob, Christian Campbell's name came up plenty too. It was actually impressive the number of times that he was pointed out by either Charles Davis or Mike Mayock or whoever was on coverage that day. I mean, it was, he was a guy that stood out. And we talked a couple weeks ago about his rising draft profile, probably in the day 2 conversation at this point. I mean, I think that's probably fair to say. It still might be a little bit surprising if he goes day 2, but they want long corners that can cover, and he can do that. So he had a good week for himself. Mike Gesicki, another guy that I think, the one thing that endlessly came up with him was, there was a point where someone said something about blocking and Mike Gesicki in the same sentence, and Mike Mayock said non-existent. And he walked it back a little bit, but I mean, it was pretty clear.
He's a specialist. He is a specialist.
Right, and he felt like he was talking to sort of a couple of reporters down there after the game, and felt like he blocked pretty well during the week. It'll be interesting to see how NFL scouts evaluated that, because I don't think he'll get to do any blocking at the combine. I could be wrong, but I don't think they blocked there. Certainly not in pads anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, he had this chance to sort of showcase what he can do, and we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, Marcus Allen didn't play either. He left early, so I guess it was a good week for him. I thought he had an interesting quote in statecollege.com, Bob, talking about, a couple teams did actually talk to him about playing outside linebacker. I wasn't sure if anybody would actually go that route, but it does sound like some did.
Yeah, he's got the size and he can add weight. He's I don't want to say Marcus is skinny, but he can see he could add pretty easily 10, 15 pounds, and that's the trend in the NFL, to get that tweener at the outside linebacker spot that can impact the run game, but also can do some things with the pass game, can stay on the field. Right. He is a candidate, I think, to be that guy. One other thing I thought that was interesting, that one of the coaches down there was Bill O'Brien, the former Penn State coach, and he recruited some of these kids. Or initially, it was James Franklin's 2014 recruiting class, but Bill O'Brien did a lot of the heavy lifting to get some of those kids there. And I think I saw a story where he actually had some conversations with Gesicki, who was a guy, Bill O'Brien likes his tight ends. That was probably one of the reasons why Mike first came to Penn State. I think he was probably in on Marcus Allen as well. And I think he finally had a chance to see some of those guys, and I just wonder what some of those conversations were like. Yeah,
at the very least, Bob, they got some good on-the-job training for what they'll experience at the Combine, because whatever they went through, it's the Senior Bowl, it'll be 10 times that when 10 times the NFL staffers are there to do interviews and ask all kinds of weird questions at the Combine. So I think all 4 of those guys have gotten Combine invites now. I'm not 100% certain, but I think that's the case. So something to look forward to later in February.
Did you have the right side, north or south?
Under.
Were you on the
always the under, Bob?
You had the under.
As we've long discussed, always the under.
All right, third down. Believe it or not, I don't know if it's a second signing day, call it what you will.
The traditional signing day.
But the traditional collegiate 2018 signing day is almost here. Penn State had an early signing day, I think in early December 20th, is later, where they got most of their kids, to sign. But there's still a chance that Penn State's 2018 class can grow.
Right.
And I know Penn State fans are particularly interested in, I think, an offensive lineman who could end up with Penn State. That's always an area of need for Penn State. How do you see Penn State now as we're getting very close to signing day, and do you think that Penn State will be adding a player or two?
I think they get one. I mean, look, again, people that watch this often or read us, it's Solomon Enos and it's Rasheed Walker. Those two have been talked about forever. Could there be a guy or two added to the list? Maybe. To me, Bob, the most interesting part of signing day is going to be what happens with Harrisburg athlete Ja'Juan Seider. Does he sign? Does he not sign? What is the word? I mean, he's been pretty mum on things ever since he didn't sign in December. He went to the Under Armour All-American game. He said he was going to sign with all his Cougars teammates that didn't sign. Of course, Micah signed because he enrolled early, but none of the other guys did, as far as I know, in December, so his plan was to sign with them. Will he or won't he? That's the question, I think, that is really going to be the most interesting thing about signing day. If Rasheed Walker does end up waiting till that Wednesday to decide, that, of course, will be a little firework for Penn State fans, similar to what they saw with Tariq Castro-Fields on signing day last year. And we'll wait and see, but I think mum is, I don't know if mum's fair, but boring probably is more accurate. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of action and excitement when you come to this point, because everyone's almost signed, they don't have much space left, and the target board hasn't changed.
Okay, so Rasheed Walker, Solomon Enos, Anderson Butts, Give me a yay or nay on all those three, the way you see it about a week out.
I mean, I would say, at this point it's Walker, and he's down to Ohio State and Penn State. The question is, did the last official visit he took to Ohio State last weekend, did that change his recruitment at all? I'm going to guess no. I think Tyler Bowen, who recruited him at Maryland, wins the day for Penn State. He goes to Penn State. Solomon Enos, Bob, I really can't get a read on that. I mean, our Joe Herman caught him at the Fiesta Bowl wearing his Penn State stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess the one thing that makes me wonder at this point in time, as we tape this, a week and a day from signing day, is what's the holdup? I mean, if Penn State's his pick, why not just commit? That's the one thing I can't quite figure out. I don't know. I'm going to go with no at this point.
Right.
I mean, I just don't. To me, I just don't understand. If that was the pick and you knew that's where you were going to go, why wait? So I'm leaning no at this point for that reason. It's not a great reason, but it is what it is. Shaquan Anderson, but I don't know. Flip a coin. Seriously, I don't. I just don't. I'm not sure at this point.
I won't press you on it anymore,
Fair.
man. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't want to get you stressed. We've still got another week left. All right,
another down.
Fourth down. This is my favorite down because it involves the Super Bowl, and we get to make a pick.
Yeah.
But there is actually a Penn State presence.
Yes.
One of them is a guy that Penn State football fans know, and that's Stefan Wisniewski, whose dad, Leo Wisniewski, was a great Penn State defensive lineman. Steve Wisniewski is his uncle, and he was an all-time great Penn State offensive lineman who played on the '86 national championship team. Stefan played, 5-6 years ago, I think, at Penn State, a 3 or 4 year player. Yeah. He is playing for the Eagles. He starts, I believe, right? Yep. But there's also a lacrosse player from Penn State, Chris Hogan, who's a wideout on the New England side. Yeah. We got New England, and we got the Eagles. Right. You're an Eagles fan. The line's 4.5. It is. Total's 48.5. Who's winning and 31, who's winning and who's covering?
Yeah, 31-27 Pats. So if you have the hook with the Eagles, you're there.
It's a lot of points for the Eagles defense to give up.
It is, but I think we've seen that team this year at linebacker have some issues. I think Bill Belichick and that staff with 2 weeks to prep will find ways to exploit the Eagles linebackers. There's been times when they can't get 4 home, and that has led teams to pick them apart. I just think there's points in this game. I do. I think New England's defense has been proven to be, you can take them if you want, especially on the ground. 31-27 for me. We'll see. But, yeah, it's Wisniewski and the Penn State football connection versus Hogan and the quasi-adopted Penn State connection because he played at Monmouth for a year. That's where he grad transferred to. New England's website credits him with Monmouth. Penn State, of course, has no problem claiming him as its own, which is fine, but never stepped on the football field at Beaver Stadium.
The Penn State Blitz has no Monmouth ties. We don't recognize Monmouth. It's strictly a Penn State guy, Chris Hogan. That's right. 24-20 Eagles Pickel, and the over/under on the number of fans at the Victory Parade in Philadelphia.
I like the idea.
8 million.
Okay.
8 million. And Joe Herman's going to probably be there to get it all.
That's right. He will be there for all of it.
All right. Do we have any overtime questions? Yeah. Any questions for me?
Yeah, let's throw a
few
your way.
I'm always asking you questions, stressing you out.
That's right. Let's throw a few your way. Okay, let's go with this. First, number one. The guy that will be the talk of spring practice is who? Juwan Johnson was the guy at the end of spring practice last year that probably there was no player talking about more than him. Who's that guy this year?
The guy at the top of my list is Yetur Gross-Matos.
Good.
I think he is going to. I know they're deep at defensive end. I think he's that good. The other guy, I think you're going to see a lot, and it kind of makes sense if they've made their minds up. I think you're going to hear a lot of talk about Will Fries, and if that does happen, they're greasing the skids for the permanent move of Ryan Bates to another position on the offensive line because I think they have their left tackle. Those are the two guys I think you will hear James Franklin talk about and their teammates talk about early and often.
All right, one more for you, Bob. Is this the year of Michael Menet? Will he or won't he come out of spring practice as a starter along the offensive line? Because he's a guy that Penn State fans have been eager to see.
I thought he was going to start as a true freshman.
Sure. I mean, we've been talking about him for a long time too. Absolutely. Is this the year? Do you think he puts it together? What are your early thoughts on that?
I think the fact that they started to play him late in the second half, late in the 2017 season, I think he finally got to a point where physically, mentally, all of it was starting to click, and I think they had an eye towards playing him in 2018. Yep. He could play guard or center. It probably could play tackle too, but he's going to play. I think he's an interior offensive lineman. I'm going to say yes, but I think. He has to stay healthy, which is something he's struggled with, and I think it's important because they do really like Mike Miranda and C.J. Thorpe.
Absolutely.
So it could be a very spirited battle. He's got a little bit of an experience edge, but if he doesn't bring his A game in the spring and summer, he's going to get passed because they've recruited so well. So it's a tentative yes for me for Michael Menet to play, and we'll see what that offensive line looks like this year, because it's about time that they started to take over, I think, games in the Big Ten against good teams. I thought the Fiesta Bowl was an encouraging sign. I thought they played very well against Washington, but they need to be able to carry it over. And if you just look what happened in the second half of the Ohio State game, they just could not. They could not fend off, the front four and the blitzers, and that was really the difference in the game. They have to take a step forward, and maybe Michael Menet is a guy who provides them with more of a physical punch, I think, inside. We'll see.
We will.
And we'll see you guys after the Super Bowl. That's it for this edition of the Penn State Blitz here on PennLIve.